What's up, nerds? Welcome to the Sec Oops podcast. I'm Ben here with Moise and Snay, and today we're going to be discussing phishing emails.
Perfect. Let's get the ball rolling for that then.
Hey man, I've got an email for one right here.
What happens when you click on it though?
Oh, your computer gets hacked.
Oh, good luck with the tech support.
Oh, my email's already slowing down. Hold on, let me find this email to read out for you here. Yeah, okay. We would like to show you sexy dating profiles of women in your city that are looking to date someone in your city. Please click here to check out sexy dating profiles. Best of all, you can start contacting the sexy dating profiles of the ladies you want to meet, date, and sleep with as soon as today. To not receive this message again, please click here, and then it's click.ru. Okay.
Surprised all the spellings are correct in this email.
Oh, half of them aren't.
Perfect.
It's sent from mega.nz as the sending address, by the way.
Perfect. There's one extra thing that whenever any kind of email that I get from even if it's like suspicious or not, I actually just hover over the link to see what is the embedded link inside the link that they sent me. And that's right there, the very first red flag that I get.
Yeah, because you can actually spoof emails to look like they're coming from another sender. That's the first thing I tell our users of where I work to do.
Mm-hmm. That's actually a good point and a nice segue to what are the things that organizations can actually do on their end to protect their own emails from being spoofed. Because imagine if something like this comes from your own IT department, Ben. Mm-hmm. You're 100% going to click on it because it's a legit sender, right?
Of course I want to see sexy ladies from my own IT department.
I thought they were gamer profiles.
Bit of column A, bit of column B.
Alright. Over to you, Snake. Sorry.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of segue somewhere there.
No, it is really interesting to see how the attackers and malicious senders can spoof the email so easily. I guess we can discuss that basically about the email spoofing and the common security controls that they can prevent. And it's not very hard to sort of deploy those controls.
Yes, exactly. And even in this day and age where we just by one search we can get the exact procedure on how to do something. And yes, this is a shout out to ChatGPT. It's very easy to deploy these kind of attacks. I 100% agree.
Yeah, and that's the problem. ChatGPT also makes it easy to work around them.
Oh yeah, I was actually, funny thing, this might be a bit sidetrack conversation, but I was actually reading up an article just yesterday morning where bug hunters online, they actually started using ChatGPT to get the exploits and use ChatGPT in the POC to develop the exploits to hack into websites as well. So it's actually kind of like a really interesting things that are happening. This might be actually a conversation for some other day though. How ChatGPT is being used, man. Because we might actually end up in a rabbit hole just from this one.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one to keep in the repertoire for our topics. I know I've used it for a fair few things the last few weeks here.
You were the one who introduced me to it.
Yeah. I know my favorite thing to do with it is to send you phishing emails.
Yep. And the content it can produce for the phishing email will be amazing. And the prospect on how the malicious spammers, senders would be using those content to make it more believable. It's
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Sometimes they even, as I said in the earlier example, sometimes they even spoof the IT department's email and everything, so it looks very legit. It is so legit that until you actually click on the link, you would not even understand what happened to you. And by the time you understand, it's already too late. Because all they want is you to just click on that, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the things would be taken care of from there.
And to sort of protect against it, IT staff needs to deploy or needs to have some sort of analysis, a lab or something that needs to be deployed to analyze.
Even before we jump into the analysis side, there are some smaller settings that they can actually do on their domain, which is the good old things which are SPF, DKIM, and DMARC.
Correct. Yeah, and those settings are easier and can be easily deployed with few Google searches or say ChatGPT searches. And
would you be able to run us through the basics of SPM, DKIM, and DMARC?
Oh, for sure. Thanks for this nice segue, Ben. Sneh, do you want to take that one over?
I mean, yeah, like for what the basic sort of idea behind the SPF and the DMARC and DKIM is, they just to put it out there, they sort of control both inbound and outbound emails, where you have an outbound email being signed off, where it has like a domain verification being attached to the email, so that the receiving party can actually verify that this is coming from a sender that's verified, and whereas the incoming or inbound emails that are coming in, it will also check for any sort of domain verification that it might have, where it can check for if the email that is coming from, for example, example.com, at example.com, is it really coming from the at example.com servers or not?
Just on a simpler words on the same thing, because the SPF is, I think, a bit older, and you can always like use in an either or situation with SPF and DKIM. It's basically, in a simpler terms, is you register and verify yourself that, hey, if I'm sending an email to Ben from my domain, it's only going to come from these specific registered servers, and that's how I would verify. So if someone actually hijacks an email or tries to spoof an email, then their email address or their email would be coming from perfect mail server. Their mail server would be a different server, and then that's how they can actually register, and SPF can easily pick up that, hey, this is a wrong email. Because it actually does that lookup and actually goes back and checks if this email address is verified with the registered server that it's supposed to be or not.
Yeah, with that being said, like with the it's always the malicious sender would always find a way to sort of circumvent those controls. Yeah, and it's also important even after certain things. For example, you have checked, like for example, if the email account has been compromised, there is no way, or the emails are being sent from that email address will fulfill those DKIM and DMARC requirements. It will pass on, and it will circumvent the whole control. So what else is sort of needed to protect against those phishing emails?
That's actually a very good question as well. If you guys don't mind, can I answer that one?
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go for it.
Yeah, a couple of things actually, and one of the very first thing that actually comes to my mind when I think about something like this is, and I cannot emphasize this enough, is user end training. The more people are aware about this, we can't talk about phishing if we do not talk about user end training. The more people are actually into this kind of training and they are aware that, okay, this is also happening. For example, if Ben and I are working in the same organization, and I all of a sudden just send him a suspicious email that, hey, Ben, transfer me these documents, I want to look them over. It looks like a suspicious request because I never asked for any documents to Ben. Even if we are in the same company, then it's always good to basically like just check with the person, and these kind of small things, just making users aware that phishing is a thing, and it's actually one of the most common attack vectors when we look outside. and how if someone is trying to infiltrate in a company or inside an organization or just deploy a payload, they would be sending phishing emails. And not even like trying to infiltrate, but trying to do something malicious. Like even script kiddies start from phishing these days because it's that simple to do. So just having that user end training in place, or like a culture of training users about something like this, is 100% more important. Second thing is, again, the one other thing is, I think we talked about this when Pen was giving that wonderful example. Most of them would always have links. If there is a link, if you hover over them, you can actually see, hey, the domain or the link here doesn't match with the domain that I see on the up top, and it's completely off right now, and the spelling mistakes and all that stuff. Those are the things that actually kind of give most of that stuff away.
Yeah, you had an interesting take on not all phishing emails are trying to infiltrate. Some of them.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say most of the phishing emails that are being sent is trying to collect some sort of information from you. For example,
good point, yeah.
more sophisticated sort of phishing emails would try to get the information like bank balances for a company. Like they might be trying to sort of target the financial department of your company. We're trying to get the bank balance or some sort of information, financial information from you. So that's it.
Or sometimes even check if the username that they found on dark web is legit or not. Sure. They just randomly spoof out. I actually kid you not. Sometimes what they do is, for example, if they are just trying to gather information that out of the 17 usernames about the user Moise, how many emails that I found are legit, all they are going to do is send phishing emails to all of them and see which one replies or which one falls under the bait, and that's how they would actually understand, oh, this username is the one that's legit. And then they can start creating attack vectors for targeting that email, getting the password and all that stuff as well. The infiltration was, I kind of like, not exaggerated, but I'm always running on paranoid fuel. So immediately my mind goes towards a really old cybersecurity term called APTs, Advanced Persistent Threats, where they target people for these kind of things.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like there, with the user training, with respect to user training, there are multiple sort of platforms that are there. Do you think they're effective, and how they're effective?
It depends on what they're trying to teach, because I know some emails will have a pure goal of getting you to click a link to install a virus, whereas I've seen some emails that just ask for spoofing the email of the CEO asking for gift cards to give out. Please keep this on the down low. So you've got to train them to not click on links and to be able to identify spoof emails so they don't respond to them with, here's $200 in PayPal gift cards or whatever, right? So you've got to make sure you're training for the right things, and you've got to make sure that these emails are getting filtered out by users and they're still good enough where they're not getting completely ignored.
Hey Ben, since you're the producer, does this mean that we are getting the $200 worth gift card?
Isn't that what I emailed you for from sexystacy@gmail.ru?
Is that you? I'm definitely gonna click that link now.
Oh, sweet.
So you're gonna pay me back my own $200.
Yeah. And what sort of thing would you recommend for companies who is on a budget and who is trying to create some sort of a user training program?
That's actually a very good question. My own personal thing is I kind of always lean towards open source tools, but there are some really good commercial tools as well. Because if the idea is to get the users trained by simulating an environment of sending phishing emails out, there are some really good tools, like, for example, commercial and KnowBe4 and others alike. There is an open source tool as well, which I really like, which is GoFish. It is actually like a simulation campaign where you can train users on how suspicious emails look and see how many of your users are prone to these kind of attacks, and then not target them but train them over getting this what's it called? Getting this training done and make sure that they are well prepped if something like this happens. But GoFish is a really good open source tool as well. Ben, if something comes to your mind, let me know.
If you want to go really hardcore, you could use ChatGPT and build them yourself. The one thing is you'd be more training people on how to react, where because there's nothing they'd be able to see that would show it's a fake unless you build outward mail systems like using a Hotmail account. You could build them yourself and spoof it yourself and then send them internally to teach them that you do have the best course of action, which is to just call the person up and say, hey, is this you? Even for people outside of the organization, typically you'll have a phone number and a mail signature, and I've done this before myself, where I'll call them and go, hey, this is a weird request. Is this you or is this a spoof? And they'll go, oh, that's us. So it's important to even just teach people yourself. It costs you nothing to either spin up a Hotmail account and spoof it, or just create a mailbox internally and send them out.
I mean, if you, that's why you rely on open source tools, right, in order to save some time, in all honesty. Because I have never seen people spending a lot of time in developing something for emails, like phishing training and all that stuff. Mostly they rely on tools, but that's again like a good idea to go hardcore. And
you don't need to anymore.
Exactly, yeah, that's a good idea. I'm still a bit skeptical. I'll keep this conversation for our next podcast. I'm still a bit skeptical in using the AI everywhere, because again, I'm from a generation who grew up watching Skynet.
Yeah.
So I'm a bit skeptical about using AI everywhere.
Yeah, it's not good enough. Yeah, you haven't clicked on any of my links.
Yeah, sorry, man. I'm definitely gonna get the one that gets me $200.
Next time.
Right. Eventually, one of these days. I actually, this is a fun story. Many years ago, when I was sending these tools, talking about these tools, it reminds me of something where I was setting up a campaign for my company, and I prepared this really nice campaign where there were 17 to 18 emails that I prepared myself that were really good replicas of each other, and really good replicas of the real emails, and I sent them out. And I think a couple of days went by, like 15 or 16 days or a couple of weeks, and then I received an email all of a sudden that was very, very convincing. And I was like, oh, this is a legit email from IT. And I was like, hold on a second. I am in IT. And not just that, I am the only one in IT.
Yeah.
Who is sending this? And I actually looked at it, I was like, oh, this is so convincing that it even fooled me. And I was like, I'm the one who created this email.
Yeah, this is really interesting take. So what I think is a lot of those commercial tools lack is that touch of personalization or customization on those emails. Like a lot of, I would say most of the email simulation platforms doesn't allow you to customize, or if they allow you, and it's bare minimum. So it's really important, as you said, deploying an open source tool would be a solution to go. Even like, I'm not talking about like, of course, if you're on a budget, yeah, that's the way to go. But even for some commercial or big enterprise corporate environments, they can still use that as a customized sort of email training, or as a phishing simulation.
Yeah, the thing about open source tools, I have this. I think Sneh, you were the one to whom I said this. Like, they're only as good as you.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever technological gaps that they would have is because you have overlooked them, because they require a higher side of more like things for modification.
Mm-hmm.
With that being said, again, there are certain things where, for example, if like you're a new user, then you would always overlook those things, even if it's an open source tool or a commercial tool. So it's always like good to research on the tool and understand every single aspect of it, so that you cover all the grounds.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And also, I just wanted to take your what's your take would be on this one. So, do you think only a phishing simulation is effective, or do you think there should be a combination of different medium to train the users? It can be, for example, a session that's been sent out to a user where they have like a video session showing you the like explaining what the different type of attacks are, and then there is a quiz that goes out to the user that sort of test out their knowledge on how effective or aware they are on those some of the attacks that they learned about. What do you think? Like, is it more effective to just send a phishing training, or have multiple mediums of training alongside the phishing training?
Was that for me or for Ben?
Right, anyone who want to answer.
Oh, Ben, do you want to go first?
I think it's important to do both. What we've done for some of our clients where I work is have them watch a few videos a week so it stays fresh in their mind. And then I think there's quizzes on the site, but we've turned those off and just have the quizzes be our actual attempt phishing emails, not actual from attackers, but we have our own phishing system that'll send out these fake emails, and if they fall for it, it means that more content needs to be assigned, or with a certain organization, maybe we need to do a one-on or a lunch and learn training session story to kind of re-go over the principles of how you can avoid it and to actually watch out for these things in places you wouldn't expect. Taking a multi-prong approach here is probably your best bet, especially with people.
That's a good point, yeah. And I've also seen, like, most of the times, like, these things are considered as like security training, so people start overlooking them. Having like a point system or like a reward system to give them the rewards if they actually successfully complete the training or like the test or campaign actually motivates them to kind of look into these trainings a bit more.
Yeah, there's always that aspect of security, that is policies that affect that will determine the effectiveness of those trainings on if a policy has been enforced, where you would have a user complete the training compulsory as a compulsory training. It'd be more effective, and as you said, with the policy can include like a reward for having a good points on those trainings.
That's good. That's actually a good point.
Yeah, speaking of the training, and as we talked about the phishing emails and various type of it, do you have an idea on how the IT team can analyze some of those phishing emails that are being sent out or by the malicious senders and spammers to the users? How they can analyze them and try to block it?
The same way the users can, by checking the actual link of the sender, except for we have access to additional tools with the mail flow to see where it's coming from, but a lot of it is the same tools that we train the users to use.
Yep, and there is actually according to me, this is a multi-layer question, because, for example, obviously users are not going to go in depth, but you need a mechanism that actually checks every single time a user confirms something or reports something as phishing. So, for example, default Outlook, Office 365 and other commercial tools can actually integrate themselves with the, I forgot what's the word for it. Is it called the mail client? Yeah. The Outlook application or Thunderbird, that's the mail client, right? Yeah. They actually integrate with your mail client, so users just click one button if they see something fishy. But there is a lot of things, like, for example, from an IT department's perspective in the backend that they can actually do. Just on the same track of like having an open source tool like GoFish to simulate the phishing tests and all that stuff, you can actually set up some tools. There is a really nice tool. I'm forgetting its name. It's actually called The Fish, if I'm not wrong. It's available on GitHub. Yep. what it actually does is it comprises of many tools inside it as well. And in a scenario like phishing, where you know that intelligence is the key, even not in phishing, but any kind of attack vector, discovering the attack before it happens or knowing about it, what's going on in the outside world is the most important thing. It's like you want to be the Nick Fury so that your eye is on everywhere. That's pun intended, get it? Because he has one eye.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I guess it was just really interesting take on that. Yeah, you were expanding more on.
Yeah. So just like having that intelligence piece, but that is the most exhausting thing, being continuously integrated and getting all these intels and checking domains across them. And that's why these tools like the Fish actually come in really handy, where they in the backend it actually has one of its component is something called as MISP, which is coming up as a really great tool these days for intelligence sources. I think it has like 70 to 80 threat intel feeds where it actually collects the data from. And what this tool, the Fish, actually does is once someone reports an email, you can whitelist and blacklist emails based on what's going on out there in the world. And because it's connected to MISP, anyone anywhere reports any email as phishing, and it's like a proven thing. All the other people who use MISP gets updated on that thing that, hey, this kind of domain campaign is going on around right now. And it has Cortex in the backend as well, so you can actually do some. I'm gonna use a word called SOAR, Security Operations Automation, in response, but you can actually automate this entire process in the backends from when the user actually clicks on something that is being reported as suspicious. They take that domain, they actually check it on the multiple threat intel feeds, and they actually give you a report if something is actually malicious or not. And without IT department having complete knowledge of the security things in the backend, they can still leverage these kind of tools that actually give them the ability to have that intelligence piece. Sorry, I kind of went into much more detail.
No, I'm pretty interested. And what I guess when it comes to like a phishing emails getting delivered to the user, it's really important the time. You should consider the time between a time frame basically. So like you can with what you said with the integration of SOAR and stuff like that, it's really efficient. It become really efficient to block the emails being sent out to other users. So for example, if one user has blocked or reported it a phishing email, it blocks out and it will no longer be delivered to other user, and that's really important to sort of reduce the attacks being happening. What senders are doing right now is they will no longer, like for example in the previous days, there was no, I would say, a less secure email environment where they would the attackers would have sent like thousands of emails in one go. Right now what they're doing is trying to send it more sort of in a humanly way possible. Like they will have some sort of interval between sending an emails and stuff like that, or they will just select a few emails being sent out first and see how they respond and then send out to the other user in your organization. So it's really important that the SOAR tools that get integrated, where it will block out the email and first go where the user is reported in it.
It's just having that information handy when you need it, and these threat intelligence tools like MISP helps you getting that information even if you're not that technically sound. They do the fetching and all that feeds for you so that you get a well-prepared list of what you should be prepared against. Because it's one thing that you prepare against an APT, but it's another thing that you should at least be well protected against like the common things that are going on out there.
And just as a disclaimer, this should be more like if you have money to dispose as your disposal, where you can buy some sort of commercial tool, for sure go for it. What your take?
Oh, absolutely.
What your take on it?
Absolutely. It definitely makes your life much more easier, I'm gonna say. Like, for example, one or two that I mentioned, which is no before, makes your life much more easier. It gives you all the reporting capabilities, the Intel capabilities. I'm still debatable on the Intel from no before and MISP. Obviously, I lean towards the open source tools, but no before is really good, and it also gives you, as I said, the Intel capabilities. And apart from that, it also gives you the capability of sending out campaigns and user and training videos and all that stuff in one go, and even customizing those emails and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they make your life much more easier. So even if like anyone who does not even know anything about security can actually just install these tools and you're good to go.
And what would be your take on like some of the email security tools, like the Barricade security, and some of like zero spam or some spam filters that are out there?
Can you elaborate that question, like from what perspective? Obviously, I'm in support of them, but I just want to make sure what the scope of this question is.
Yeah, I would just say, like, how do you think it would be beneficial? Of course, it would be beneficial for enterprise sort of companies, but for like a small business where you have just one person as IT, do you think those tools can be effective, or you're better off deploying the default tools or default spam filters from your email providers such as Microsoft or Google?
It is okay. I see what you mean. Makes sense. That's a good question. Ben, do you want to go a take on this? Because I have like a very different take on this one.
Yeah,
I'll let you go first. I'd be curious to see what your perspective on this is. I think not avoiding, but making sure that you optimize the default configurations in your devices at least is important. And most of these systems can be easily automated once you get a learning and management set up properly. Each one shouldn't have too much administrative overhead for one IT person, but you do have to balance your time properly so you're not spending most of your work just supporting users and dealing with email phishing.
Yeah, and
that's a really good point. Yep.
Yeah, and I think with the default tools that be provided by a major email providers like Google, like Microsoft and Google's, they are really good on detecting some of the phishing, like I would say spam emails, not phishing emails, but the main difference with spam and phishing would be, I would say, the more targeted and getting information, whereas spam is basically not so much targeted as a customized for that particular target, but it's a different story. I totally agree. Like it comes upon the configuration on those tools. That's what my take is. Like you can get so much value out of a default spam filters as well. You don't have to go with the commercial tools like.
It depends how many resources you have in your IT department. That's why I kind of redirected it towards Ben, because I know Ben comes from a sysadmin perspective. And I come from a security perspective, and that's why most of the time him and I fight.
Yeah.
On many things, but that's the good thing. Like we can bring two different aspects to the table. And because you actually mentioned something that caught my eye on the question, which was having limited amount of people in IT. I have been in situations where it was, for majority of the time, it was just me, and then I got a colleague and it was just him and I for like more than a year. So these tools running there on default settings can be very noisy. I wish what I know now, I would know back then with what I know now. In order to say it correctly. I wish if I would have known back then what I know now, specifically about automation, And even if these tools are running on default, how to handle the incidents that come up with them, and only look at the important things, and getting most of them tackled by automation would have made life much more easier for me.
For sure.
Because it's one thing that these tools are running, but because they do analyze every email in a sandbox environment, then in the backend, if you look at it, they actually, the very first things that they check are the 3 or 4 things that we talked about, which is the DKIM, DMARC, and SPF. SPF, I don't think so much. If there is DKIM available, then they kind of like skip through it. But those are the very first blue ticks that they look for. Hashtag pun intended.
For sure.
I
Yeah.
know that the mail filter we use will check for all of them. It checks for all 3, and if it fails any of them, it just blocks the email, and it blocks it in a way where the user can't override it. They have to call us to do
See,
it.
right there. That's like too much noisy. That's too noisy. Like if it
But
fails
the
in
debate
any
we
of
have is we can set it to forward and append a notification at the front of the subject that says, hey, this email has failed some security checks. But which of those protocols do we do it for? It's something we haven't decided yet. Do we have it just append and approve SPF, DKIM, or DMARC? Because we can't do it for all 3, because then there's no mail filter.
Exactly.
But which one do we choose? Because we can't have it blocking all 3.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm going to segue. I'm really sorry, I'm going to segue for 5 minutes on something on the side.
Yeah.
Having these decisions, you see thousands of things in one day, Ben, right? And having something like, okay, I'm going to check for all 3 is very rigid. However, it's a really good idea, but it's very rigid. So you can actually just leverage something called as automation, where you actually create run books. No, actually in automation, they're called playbooks, where you actually prepare use cases and you have a strong policy around it. You have a written policy that these are the things that I would do, and you convert them into playbooks that, hey, if a user reports something like that, if this email is blocked because SPF failed, then you actually take the domain and check and verify them on your Intel if it's actually malicious or not. And if it is not, then you can actually go ahead and do all that stuff. So IT department doesn't have to, I'm not going to, for the lack of a better term, waste their time on simple decisions, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a good way of wording it.
Exactly. I was actually going to ask, what's your, how much do you agree with me? Because it very rarely happens we agree on the same thing, Ben.
It's fairly precise.
It's actually very, because I understood these things, because we face these challenges in security incidents as well, where I think it's called incident fatigue. Also, I think it's called alert fatigue or something like that, where it's just too much alerting, and you, for again, not to waste your time on these things which can easily be automated, and only look at something when it's actually very sus. Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of deviated, but you would see this more than often. I always leverage automation. It's not because of my fascination for the field, but I'm just very lazy.
No, I think it's more efficient, I would say. With automation, there's always like, for example, you can automate a mundane task, such as you said, the emails being blocked, and that's the important one. For example, if the emails is being put as a phishing, and after doing a threat analysis on with the intels that you're getting, and you say, okay, this is a phishing email that's malicious. Of course, that should be blocked immediately and without intervention of an IT person to block it, and that's the efficient way to do it.
I mean, like, I can actually, just by looking at it right now, I can think about a runbook where if a email gets blocked, a user reports an incident on Hive, your Cortex picks it up from Hive, and it actually gets the domain, sees where it failed, then does those specific checks and makes a decision tree. And then if something is really required your attention, it involves you, or it just moves forward in the runbook and automatically allows that email or denies that email.
Yeah.
This is actually as simple as it can be. It's just that more people have to leverage these things.
Yeah, and trying to set up some of those things might be overwhelming for a one-person team, but
Yes.
once it's set up, I guess it will reduce a significant amount of manual work that you might be doing
Sure, yeah.
on some of the tasks. So.
I think we've said a lot of good things today. Maybe we should move on to our question of the day.
Oh, that's
That'll be
so
really
interesting.
fun. Yeah. So, okay, what's the question of the day, Ben?
Should ping be enabled on firewall interfaces? Now, I know that most of the firewall vendors I've worked with have it enabled, but for some reason Palo Alto doesn't. I'd like to hear Moise's opinion on this.
This is a trap. I'm telling you, this is a trap.
How is this a trap? I'm genuinely curious.
Okay, so here's the thing. Oh, sorry, Steve, you were saying something?
No, I was just saying. Go ahead.
It's really good for a troubleshooting perspective because it makes your life much more easier. But imagine taking something back that we discussed earlier today, which is basically information gathering. If I am running like a port scan or something, and I'm only looking for keep alive messages for ports and all that stuff from being received from ports and all that stuff, having been enabled on your external interface or anything, not even external interface or any interface, would actually make your environment be susceptible to like information gathering and even banner grabbing and sorts of that. If that makes sense, because it's good from a troubleshooting perspective, but because you are keeping it on all the time, if someone's just running a quick scan, they can gather information. Oh, this interface or this IP address is up, or this port on this IP address is up, or something like that.
No, but what value would that add versus, for example, if they were to try another protocol with it, they'd still be able to see that it's online? SSH and every IP on the internet and see which modems are active, right?
That's why they have like a list of instead of just like enabling ping like from a protocol perspective, they actually have a really good application decoders, and specifically for Palo Alto, even for ping, they treat it as an application and they look at the application decoders for every single thing. So these kind of information gathering attacks where they actually masquerade the payload and try to collect as many keep alive messages or port information can actually be not easily bypassed from the mechanism that is there, if that makes sense. I think I involved too many complicated terms. Like in simpler words, if I'd say.
Ouch.
No, not from my perspective. I'd say I added too many unnecessary complicated words in it. In simpler words, it's like if ping is enabled, anyone from anywhere can actually see that IP address or that interface is up, even if they are not trying to troubleshoot something, if that makes sense. So instead of keeping it open every single time or all the time, you open it only for the time being where you're troubleshooting something and then disable it. That's how you enable the principle of least privilege kind of thing in there. And having a zero trust environment where you because in traditional architectures, we used to only check the traffic from north to south, which is like from core layer to the access layer kind of thing, or edge layer to the access layer. But in a zero trust environment, you also check something called as east to west traffic, where if a traffic just goes from one zone to another or one segment to another, it gets intercepted, it gets properly checked, and only the things that is necessary to pass through the zone or interface is allowed, if that makes sense.
Yes, but you can add access lists for that at the same time. What value would knowing this IP is online add, right? Like the ping doesn't include any other information beyond that it's active. It could be a home ISP, it could be Microsoft, you don't know, right? So I feel like this is security at the cost of trying to troubleshoot something. Whereas I know one use case for our organization is cloud monitors that will just constantly ping devices to make sure they're all online. And then if they aren't, it'll open up a ticket for us to react and respond.
Oh, then you can actually, what's it called? If you have a monitoring thing that would only send you ICMP request to check it, then in that scenario, you only allow that specific payload. And I know specifically with Palo Alto, you can create a custom decoder that would mark the signature of how the packet looks from your, what's it called, Keep Alive application, which is sent. Which application did you say? Sorry?
Just a general cloud monitor.
Okay, just a general cloud monitor. So basically, it looks at the payload, and you can actually create a custom decoder which looks at very specific things on that payload and only allow the traffic if those things are there in the payload to send the ICMP. So instead of like just keeping it open for everyone or for a single IP address that can easily be spoofed, you actually go
an access list with extra steps.
Yeah, with extra steps and more efficient, because if we are talking about Cisco's access list, then it's just IP address and protocol, which always gives me anxiety from a security perspective that anyone can easily spoof this.
Yeah.
Easily spoof this.
And,
no, but wouldn't you just block every ping that doesn't look like a ping request? Because ping packets are fairly simple, right?
In Palo Alto?
In general.
In general, they're fairly simple. As I said, if in Palo Alto, their ping packets, they mark them as an application of ping, which always used to bother me because it's like a layer 4 protocol. It doesn't fit into application layer. So that's a very interesting thing I'm going to say that they do.
Yeah, they do a lot of interesting things, but I'd agree with you, but how come most vendors don't do this then? Like, I know I worked with the Sophos, the Cisco ASAs, the Cisco Meraki's, and PFSense for those home users out there.
Are you use PFSense?
No, not in a professional environment, but for home labs.
I was going to say my condolences.
Well, we
really good firewall. Really good firewall, though.
That out as soon as we could.
That's actually a firewall where I started my career with, so really good firewall, though.
Yeah, I have a sort of an interesting take on that. So with basically with the ping, there's an inherent security flaw, I would say, where you can craft in a ping, for example, if you allowed it to outside external interface, you can basically craft an email saying, okay, just craft an email with a modified package where you can have a source IP defined to be another IP or maybe an internal IP or something, and that way you can simulate the type of attack where multiple huge packets are being sent to the internal source that is not supposed to be, like a ping of death attacks that used to happen. But as a thought. And also with the ping being sort of
ping of that. I forgot about that. That's a good point.
Yeah, and
I totally forgot about ping of that. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically other thing about a ping, and you can sort of get the information out where if you have for example an outsource or like a outgoing server where you have it hosted on the external interface, you can identify what type of machine is it by the ping responses that are being replied back to for say the I think it's just an MS being the one. Yeah.
Like what kind of reply you mean? TTL from TTL or something?
Yeah,
else?
from the TTLs. Like you can identify if it's a Windows machine or if it's a Linux machine or stuff like that.
Yeah, till this date I remember those classes, man. Where TTL of 32 is Windows, 64, 128 is Linux. Oh my god, it's stuck in my head.
Yeah, so there's that aspect of it. Yeah, go ahead, Ben.
But does that give any more valuable information over any other reconnaissance methods that you would do?
Yeah.
Like in my mind, all you can get is a general idea of the operating system and whether or not there's something there.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But like, even giving out a little bit information piece by piece. Like just in this, I think 1 hour conversation, we talked about so many different ways that people can actually do a recon, and this is just one other method. So you take one method lightly and eventually you give out a lot of information that you were not supposed to. And it's because it's the edge and it's the beginning of your network, you need to make sure that is the most hardened part of your network. Because that's where everything is going to come. So you don't want to lose out on anything there, if that makes sense.
Yes, but at what cost is my thing. Like you could have it as secure as possible. You could have everything go through a VPN, everything leaving go through a VPN tunnel somewhere else, and artificially set your edge somewhere else. But at what point are you just giving up functionality at the cost of attempting to secure your network for minimal gain?
So here's the thing, just having ping disabled doesn't give out, you don't miss out on functionality. This is a troubleshooting thing, right? Which is not every end user is going to do. The functionality is being considered from a point which every end user needs to do. And from a troubleshooting perspective, if something is required, there should be a paper trail why even ping was enabled. That's the whole point. So there should be a process backing up for the approval and all that stuff, so that your changes and your troubleshooting gets tracked on. That's the whole process kind of thing. It took me a while to understand why process is so important, but then I was like, after a certain amount of time in my career, I was like, process is really important, and keeping track of every single change that you do saves out a lot of trouble later on in the end.
But I'm from small to medium business where we only have, for example, 25 people managing almost 50 clients. We can't be process tracking every single, you need to turn on ping on the firewall, and we need to have 3 people discussing for this, and we can't be affording that kind of thing versus just keeping it on.
I mean, that's the thing, like, the question was
what operating system the firewall is running and the fact that it exists.
The question was not like at what cost you would do. The question was like, why you do it, and that's why I was like leaning towards why you do it. And Palo Alto is a firewall which not every small or medium business is going to use. I have most of the time only seen it in enterprise clients, if that makes sense, because it kind of incorporates that enterprise security thing.
Where I can see the value in this for enterprise, but from my perspective, for small to medium businesses, all of the vendors of firewalls I've seen in either small to medium or home enthusiasts have it enabled by default. So it may just be a matter of different functionality and different
exactly where you exactly where. Because the APTs that would be attacking, the APTs that would be attacking enterprise would not be attacking the small and medium unless until they, if I can think and expand my imagination, and if they want to pivot through a small business and put all the blame through them, only in that scenario I can think about something like that. But again, it's my imagination running wild.
It's interesting you brought up the APTs. What my thinking is basically the 80% of the attacks or attack vectors or attack actors, I would say, they're targeting some sort of small medium businesses would be script kiddies. And what I've noticed with the script kiddies is if they would see the ping not responding, I would think they will move on to the next.
They would just deter.
So simply,
they would just completely deter from it.
Yeah, simply turning off a ping would sort of would protect you from the 80% of the attackers out there, where they are just looking for something that replies back and trying to attack that. So
exactly, that's a really good point. Yeah.
But wouldn't the idea to be have more security systems in place so that if they do attack you because they found that your IP address exists, you'd be able to defend against that?
Yes. So like even just taking Palo Alto's example, after that layer, there's another layer of application detection. I think, if I'm not wrong, I think there's a threat detection engine as well, which actually detects packet layer threats as well. And the idea is to, like, because it's your edge, behind your firewall, you would also have like something called as bump in the line configuration, where you would deploy IDS or IPS to actually have another layer of protection. So if someone actually breaches that, then they would still have to go through some other detection layers as well.
Okay. Like, if you were working at a small to medium MSP like I am, would you disable ping on all of your clients' firewalls, for example?
Because I have a option to enable it whenever I want, I would disable them and only enable them when I need them.
Now, how would you manage keep alive alerts then? Because we use these cloud monitors to ping the the outward-facing gateway to make sure that the firewall and the network is still online.
Okay, again, so it depends what firewall you have. It's very easy to like create a custom packet decoder to only allow your cloud monitor to go through it and like tie it with the signature of that cloud monitor in the packet. So only what you need is enabled. And I think if it's a sense keep alive, you can even set up SNMPv3 to kind of set up those kind of monitoring at a encrypted layer. Because SNMPv3 does a really good job in that as well.
Yeah. And also, like limiting the traffic that are coming onto a WAN interface of the internet gateway can be firewall. You just limit the traffic to certain. For example, in your example, it will be the monitoring software that is pinging out. So, yeah. So I guess it was a great discussion today.
Yep. It was actually a lot of fun. If you guys do not mind, I'd like to close with a nice joke.
Okay, go ahead.
What do you call a turtle that surfs the dark web?
What?
A tortoise.
Oh god. Wow, you're great jokes. Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I guess we will look forward to seeing you in the next episode, everyone.
Yeah, thanks guys. Let's see where it goes from here.
Thank you. See you guys.
Take care guys.